Hey there. I am going to be trying Kazematen. The Wipers Times. I think that's how it's pronounced. Um, Kazematen. Anyway, looks like this. There we go. Kazematen. I don't know. The Wipers Time. So this is a Belgian specialty ale, and it's 6.2% alcohol by volume. Yeah, hello. Oh, there we go. Rodenbach, St. Bernardus, and Pierre Cielis all have links to the recently opened Kazematen Brewery. Although the paint is still drying on the repurposed 400-year-old walls, innovative tradition runs deep in their beers. For their first and flagship brew, the Wipers Time 14 Belgian Ale, Kazematen pays homage to beers of yore with combination of 4 herbs, including milk thistle. Which is interesting. I don't think it tells me. Oh, maybe it does tell me the herbs on the back. As one of the only Belgian ales to undergo a lagering process, it accentuates fresh local hops with unparalleled crispness. And I'm relatively certain that the hops are Belgian. With legendary creators, unique ingredients, and a quenching 6.5% alcohol by volume smooth bite, Viper Times 14 has credentials to become the new perennial Belgian favorite in the vein of St. Bernardus or Delirium Tremens. Everything about this suggests to me that these guys know how to brew beer. This was a very limited release, and so luckily I saw this email in time and I was able to jump on the opportunity. And I'm excited that this is a relatively new brewery that's trying to do some interesting new things with Belgian-style ales. So this will be an enjoyable experience. Ooh! Might be a messy experience too. So Belgian specialty ale. I wonder. Oh, probably because Okay. Well, I don't really see Belgian specialty as such. I see strong. This is too strong for this. Okay, so St. Bernardus, extra, is in a triple single. Trappist single. A triple single. I like that. Okay, so I'm relatively certain that the correct place for this, although the herbs that they added might kind of set this apart from as a different style, but I think it's a Belgian double because Chimay is in here, Roquefort 6, St. Bernardus, so and its volume is from 6 to 7.6% alcohol by volume. So I'm pretty certain that that's what we're looking at here. But I'm already interested in this because of the way it looks in its pour. So let's smell it. Wow. Interestingly citrusy, but bready and yeasty. Almost has a sour smell to it. I think it's interesting that it's lagered. And lagering really just means fermenting at a lower temperature for a longer time. Normally, fermenting is done at about room temperature, 65 degrees or so, 70 degrees. But lagering is usually done about like 55 to 60, maybe if it's that low. And the idea is that you you slow the fermentation process, but not to the point, so that way it doesn't like sit on the yeast so long the yeast gets bad, because that also is a very distinct flavor. But when done at a cooler temperature, it allows the yeast kind of to slow down their process a little bit, and so it ages the beer in a much different way. Very interesting. But I was looking at this pour. This is super, super carbonated, and I don't know if this camera will do it justice. But there are these lines of bubbles forming. Yeah, kind of, almost. Lines of bubbles forming. It is super, super fizzy in there, but a little bit hazy. So my guess is that it's an unfiltered beer, but a beautiful bright golden color. Let's jump into flavor. Wow. Wow, very interesting. I was expecting that very distinct Belgian flavor. Usually, the flavor to me of what Belgian yeast tastes like. But this is very interesting. It has some lager type flavor to it. It has some bright crispness to it. It has some graininess to it. It has this kind of interesting sweetness to it, but a dry finish. It's very interesting. Definitely malty. I feel like it's like a Belgian lager. Because it has these different ingredients in it that makes it a very distinct flavor, but it has this very pronounced lager flavor, which is a very interesting juxtaposition. And of course, I just stirred it up because I'm trying to smell it. I think that this beer will be very well received by a lot of beer drinkers here in the U.S. Actually, gosh, I'm very curious. I feel like a lot of U.S. beer drinkers would enjoy this beer. It's very mild and agreeable, very drinkable, very accessible. But it has a very distinct lager flavor to me, which makes me think that I know a lot of people who would enjoy it, and so kind of bridges the gap between American lager drinkers and Belgian beer drinkers. Not Belgians per se, but the people who drink Belgian ales. Because they're very different styles, and each has a very diehard fan base, and this is kind of like the bridge between them. It's very interesting. This is imported by a company in Florida, D&V International in Jupiter, Florida. Very interesting. High fermentation blonde specialty ale, brewed with 4 grains and 4 herbs. During World War I, British soldiers published the Wipers Times, a trench gazette that was printed in the Kazematten on the location of the current brewery. That's cool history for a building. Kazematen can be visited by appointment, and it gives you information about how to visit them. So if you're ever in Belgium, look that up. How cool is that? Anyway, so this beer, I think it's very interesting. High fermentation blonde. So there's a Belgian blonde, 6 to 7.5%. You know, yeah, a high ferment. Okay, so interesting. The Belgian Blonde ale category actually says that we would be expecting moderate grainy flavor with a medium dry finish, medium hop alcohol bitterness to balance. Light hop flavor can be spicy or earthy. This is more in the earthy side. Very soft yeast characters, and then the spiciness that we get from yeast, Belgian yeast, is not here, and that's an optional flavor that you would be getting. And so the blonde ale is much like some slightly caramelized sugar or a honey-like sweetness on the palate, and that's definitely pleasant. It's definitely a high carbonation beer, very bubbly, medium body, and kind of creamy too. It has this great mouthfeel to it. And the head that is persisting, I mean, it's following me all the way. Gives it this nice kind of foamy creaminess. The comments on this particular style say it often has an almost lager-like character, which gives it a cleaner profile in comparison to many other Belgian ales. Belgians use the term blonde, while the French spell it blonde, B-O-L-N-D versus B-L-O-N-D-E. I feel like this is probably the better style to have compared this to, and the correct alcohol range and everything, and very drinkable beer, and it kind of explains that kind of lagery flavor that I'm getting, and so even more so because it was lagered in this long fermentation process. So very cool. I'm very curious to hear what other people are saying about the Wiper's Times, we have the internet. Let's look. Oh, interesting. There's a movie, 2013. There's a wiki of the Trench magazine. There's a BBC story about the Wiper's Times. So, Kazematen. There we go. Okay. Oh, not even reviewed? Wait a minute. Not even reviewed on Beer Advocate? No score. Weird. I don't know why it says no score. What's up with that? But it looks like these people maybe doesn't have enough scores. So 5 out of 5, 3.51 out of 5, 4.19 out of 5, 3.31 out of 5, 4.02, 3.92. But lots of good reviews. I think so. There's only 6 reviews at this point, with an average of 3.92 on Beer Advocate, which is interesting. And then Rate Beer. I don't know if Rate Beer is much better. Okay, times 14. Oh, 2014. I guess it's an annual release. So I'm confused because I don't know, whatevs. Okay. Anyway, it's out there, oh, 14. I forgot. Yeah, no, it's on there. Where is it? In this little bubble. I don't even know why it's hanging out. But there it is. I'm sure that there's some significance. Wiper's Times 14. Mary's Thistle. Which was, the Thistle can be found on the front page of the newspaper on the label of this beer. You can also find the Blessed Thistle at the entrance of the brewery. And then Wiper's Time 14 stands for the density of the beer, which is 14 Plato. So cool. Cool. Anyway, so a cool beer. I feel like I'm excited that I had the opportunity to get my hands on it, and I'm curious to see what other people think. It's a very drinkable, mellow, blonde Belgian blonde ale, and it's great. I love it. So I hope you do too. Share with me if you've had it, where you found it. I got mine on Tavor, and thank you so much for watching.